Time to go back to the database. In this video, I show you how the Oracle DB makes use of promises to alleviate the use of nested functions. Let's start. First, there is a common structure that you can follow in all your database code. You may call this a template, but it's a good starting point. Require the Oracle DB, set the auto commit to false, because using promises it's easier to commit and roll back. Now, get a connection, but instead of providing a callback function, just provide the connection properties, and this will return a promise. Now, add a then function, this should have the connection, and a catch function chained to the then function. This one should log the error. You don't need to close the connection, since the connection is not open because the catch is chained to the getConnection call. Now, inside the then function of the getConnection promise is where you add queries, and all this code goes as a nested promise. The connection.execute method with the query parameters and option parameters returns a promise. Usually you begin chaining queries by executing the first one in the series and then chain the queries from that promise. Then add a then function to handle the result of the query. Here, if you want to continue executing queries, then return the executions on the database. But when you're done, you must commit and release the connection. Commit and rollback also returns promises, allowing you to chain the release call as well. The only problem that I find using promises in the commit and rollback is that you must commit then release and in the catch release as well. In the end, you duplicate the release function in both the then function and the catch function. Outside, add a catch function to the nested promise. Here, log the error, roll back, and release the connection as well. You only need to commit and roll back when you do inserts, updates, or deletes. If you are only selecting, you may only release the connection without committing or rollback statements. If you commit and roll back in selected statements, nothing will happen, but performance will take a minor hit because of the extra operation. And finally, you can combine promises and classic callbacks in your code. This is especially useful with commit, rollback, and release. Now, to see this in action. To select the summaries of the movies, the code is very similar but way cleaner. It's not that shorter, but the nested functions disappear, and the error handling is more elegant. There are no if checks to check if there was an error in the query. The catch function will take care of that. The query is the same, it receives no parameters, the result is logged to the console. Running this script in the VM gives the expected result. Now, selecting a movie and its reviews. Once again, there's a reduction in lines of code, but the function nesting is gone, especially in the two sequenced queries. In this case, I have a compact version of the select detail script and a more verbose one. Functionally, they are the same. One of them explicitly invokes each step on a separate then function, while the other piggybacks calls to minimize the number of functions required. What is noteworthy of the version that uses promises is that the queries are executed sequentially and there is a common catch. That, by the way, is the same as the one in the select summary, and in fact, in most cases will be the same. Release the connection and log the error. What changes are the then functions that are used to chain the queries in the database. Note that the movie variable lies outside the promise chain. This is to make the movie variable available through the entire process of promise chaining, since you can only provide one return value and one parameter in the then function. The delete script has a reduced line count as well. Note that the clutter from handling errors in each of the connection.execute calls is gone. This is where the most lines of code are saved. Also, remember that once the chain of the promises is done to release the connection. Also, you have to release the connection in the inner catch. You don't need to release the connection in the other catch, since that one refers to the getConnection operation. The most drastic example in the series is the insert script. The previous insert script inserted one movie and two reviews in around 100 lines of code. The new script inserts a movie, 10 reviews in about 80 lines of code. This is done with extreme ease. First you get the connection. I need the movie ID once I have it in order to run the inserts in the reviews. Then I execute the insert for the movie, and I notice that I assigned the promise to a variable. I haven't chained anything yet. Then I chain my first function. This function reads from the result and assigns the movie ID. Now I create a for loop for 10 times Inside I use a self-invoking function to get a copy of the current value of the variable I. Now, for each of the iterations, I add a pair of then functions, one to create a review, another to log the ID of the created review. Now, outside the for loop, I add the last then function to the promise to release the connection, and as customary, I add the catch function to release and log. Note that I am also using the commit mechanism. Note that at the end, I commit everything. I do it by using the convenience methods I described before. You can mix promises and classic callbacks in your code. And that's it. 10 reviews for a movie inserted with this neat trick. I can verify it by running and then select the summary and select the detail of the new movie. Using promises helps you write cleaner code that deals with the database. Review the sample scripts and get familiarized on how promises works with the Oracle DB driver. If you want to learn more about promises in Oracle DB, you can find information in the official documentation. And when you're ready to continue, go to the next video.